You've landed inside Launch Street, the Business Innovation Podcast, where we interview top innovators out there shaking things up so you can innovate, differentiate, and get further faster. Since you're here, we know you're the type of person that recognizes the importance of unlocking your innovation advantage so you can compete and win. And now, your host, the person that has worked with leading companies like Disney, Procter & Gamble, Aero Electronics, the U.S. Army Research Labs, and Red Robin on upping their innovation advantage. Tamara Gontor.
Hello, Launch Street. Do I still get to say Happy New Year or am I too late? I never know when I can actually officially stop saying that. So I'm going to keep saying it. Happy New Year. 2020 is going to be amazing. In fact, I hope it already is for most of you. This podcast is another awesome Q&A session, and I can't thank Matthew enough for this particular question because I think it's something that a lot of us are facing, and it's very real and very personal. And I love it when I get those kind of questions because at the end of the day, the things that are impacting us, the winds of change, the technology, the disruption, the speed, the acceleration, all of that impacts us personally. And as you've heard me say time and time again, innovation, your ability to innovate, your personal ability to innovate is your competitive advantage and the way that you rise up in this time of change and this time of technology. And Matthew has a question that addresses that directly. Let's get to it.
Hey, Tamara. There's a lot of changes that have been going on in my industry, and my company's recently implemented a new software that will generate data and reports for me, which is what used to be one of my responsibilities. And so my question to you is, how can I make sure that I stay relevant when technology is doing what I used to be valued for?
Wow. Big thank you for being willing to share this question, Matthew. I so appreciate you. This is something that speaks to and keeps a lot of us up at night. And I'm happy and eager actually to address this because I think there's actually a big opportunity in this technology threat that's coming our way. So Matthew, shout out to you for asking the question and also for emailing me later and telling me that it was you who asked the question. So I didn't have to say thank you, anonymous. I appreciate that as well. It's kind of good to put at least a name to a question. As Matthew mentioned in his question, what he used to get paid to do, technology now does. So where's his relevancy? That's a thing that a lot of us are facing all up and down sideways on an organizational chart. It's not just in one industry or in one level, it's happening everywhere. The reality is the gap between robot and person is shrinking. And in fact, it's shrinking at an accelerated rate. So Matthew, and for all of us, I want to start by telling a story about someone I met along the road, something he shared with me. His name is Jason, and I met Jason as I was kind of doing sound check before a keynote at an accounting management conference. So this is people at all different levels in the accounting world coming together. And there's about, I think it was like 300 or 400 people, if my memory serves me right. And Jason came up to me after and he said, Tamara, here's the dirty secret that nobody in this room wants to talk about. And he kind of, by the way, leaned in as he said it, like he was whispering it, almost like he didn't want everybody to hear what he's about to tell me. And he said, in kind of a quiet voice, he said, in 4 years, the accounting degree isn't even going to exist. Technology can now do what I took 4 years to study for. He said, now technology, software can do all that. We don't need the degree the way we used to. And I kind of half jokingly, half serious said, well, let's just go have coffee then. Like, what are we doing here? And Matthew, and for all of us, he said something really powerful because what he's talking about, Matthew, is exactly what you're dealing with. What he used to get trained to do, educated to do, paid to do, what used to be seen as a higher value is now being done with technology, which is why I was kind of half joking, half serious about like, let's throw in the towel. But he said, Tamara, here's the thing. He said, it's awesome. He said, because what it actually creates is an incredible amount of opportunity for those of us in the room. While technology can do the baseline stuff, he said, that actually frees me up to do the strategic thinking, to be innovative, to have a strong voice at the table. He said, this is actually an incredible opportunity if we see it that way. I thought what he said was so powerful, this idea that, hey, wait a minute. If technology isn't taking my job, if technology is freeing my job up, maybe there's opportunity for relevancy and value in that. So that's what I want you to think about, Matthew. And to all of us facing this, and just even if it's just gently kind of, seeping into our world, or if you're seeing massive takeover with technology and software and AI, everything that's happening, here's my piece of advice for all of us. I want you to shift your mindset and ask yourself, how do these computer-generated reports help me get ahead? How do they allow me to provide insights, opinions, and advice? So whatever that looks like to you, for Matthew, it's how does this software, how do these computer-generated reports help me get ahead? For someone else, it might be, how does this big data that's being driven, how does that help me get ahead? Or how does AI and technology help me get ahead? Or how do these efficiency and productivity tools help me get ahead? Whatever it is for you in your world, we've got to shift our mindset from how is this taking away from me to how can this add value to me? How can I leverage this? Here's the other thing I want you to think about. How do they allow you to provide, how does the technology, whatever it is, allow you to provide insights and opinions and advice? Because you know what? That's where the value is. It's in the insights. It's in the innovation. It's in the solutions. Software is not providing that. Software is providing information. The value is in the insights, not the information. Trust me, we're all inundated and overwhelmed with information. So Matthew, I want you to see these software-generated reports as a tool for you, not taking away, but a tool for you. And for all of us out there, technology is a tool for us to leverage. And yeah, it's doing a lot of things that we used to do, but you know what? The ones that are going to win, the way we're going to win in this fast-paced, accelerated, complex technology, whatever you want to call it, times, is by leveraging that technology. So here are some questions that I like to, actually let me back up and say, I like to keep it real. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself to help you get to that next place. Because I know what some of you are thinking. I've been there myself, like, okay, Tamara, great. So I'm gonna use these to get ahead, and I'm gonna provide insights and opinions. I hear what you're saying, but how do I even do that? Well, I'm gonna give you a really basic, easy to implement tool that I know works because I use this all the time and my clients use it with great success. When you get these reports, when you get this data, whatever form that looks like, this information, to elevate it to insights, there's some questions I want you to ask yourselves. Things like, what does this data tell me? Super simple, right? All right, so we've got percentages of marketplace, we've got growth or decline in numbers, we've got dollars, we've got averages. That's all fine, but what does that tell me? Or what can I extrapolate from looking at these reports, right? What can I pull out of this information? So if I've got data on the marketplace and the customer and the average, what does that tell me about where our business is headed or not headed? That's where the value is. Do you see the difference there? Question like, how does this information inform my next steps? I actually think this one's a really powerful one because what really matters isn't that you just communicate data or share data, actually, Matthew. It's that it actually informs what happens next. So if you can bring that value to the table, oh my gosh, you are light years ahead of the technology and the software that you're worried about right now. I promise you that. The last question I have, which is very similar to that, is now that I have this data, what decisions would I make? So next step decisions, kind of in the same vein there, but you get the point. The data is only as good as what you do with it. And I can't tell you the number of times, everyone, that I've seen companies spend so much time and money on data, and then they think that's the end point. But it's not the end point. You're not doing crap if that's what you're doing. Sorry. But the real value is in the decisions and the next steps and the insights, right, that come out of that. So Matthew, that's the place I want you to put yourself in. So just to recap the questions, right? What does this data tell me? What can I extrapolate? How do I get to next steps? What decisions can I make? That's where you are going to find relevancy and value as these type of softwares become more and more ubiquitous in our lives. So for all of us, we've got to shift and begin to think not how technology takes away from my value in this world, but how I can leverage it to gain the advantage. That's how we win. It's so easy in some ways, right? We just got to be more human. So Matthew, I hope that you see that you are even more valuable providing insights than information. Information is baseline. Honestly, peeps, at today's age, it's cost of entry. your value, having a strong voice, is about what you do with that information. And oh my goodness, if you can take that information and say, here's an innovative solution that we would have never gotten to had I not seen the patterns and the insights and thought about next steps, you will blow people's minds away, provide so much value. I'll tell you, I was just having this conversation with a company that reports to me. They do a lot of work for us in the marketing area. And what I came to notice is that every week they were providing me with great information. But in our monthly updates, what we weren't doing was getting to what to do with that information. And it took me a couple months to realize this, because at first I thought, oh, this is really interesting. Okay, so these percentages, that percentages, this raw data, and so on. And I thought, oh yeah, this is great, this is great. But after about 3 months, I realized that we weren't really moving the needle because we weren't taking the time to understand the insights around that data. So all those reports, by the way, were computer generated. Like, they were pulling information, putting it together in a pretty form, and that's fine. But we need to figure out what to do next because of the data. And that, Matthew, is a conversation I want you to be driving at your work and in your life. For all of us, that's what I want the conversation, that's where I want the mindset to go. The value is in the insights that you provide. The value is in your ability, and it's in actually the ability of the human mind to innovate. All right, Matthew, I can't thank you enough. To everyone out there, please, if you have your questions, send more. We love them over here at Launch Street. Not because we love that you have challenges. We don't, believe me. But I think having these conversations and being able to discuss some of these things is how we're going to move forward. It's how we're going to find our value. It's how we're going to innovate and create those solutions that help us stand out from the crowd and rise up, and all the other platitudes I could possibly think of. All right, go to our website, and if you click on podcast, right there you can hit record and enter your question. Tamara, out.
Thanks for hanging with us on Inside Launch Street. If you know someone that is truly ready to unlock their innovation advantage, have them join you on Launch Street. Discover your innovation advantage. Build a team of high-performing innovators and ignite ideas and solutions that create massive impact. GOTO, launchstreet.com. Remember, innovators, if you don't take the leap, somebody else will.